Hey everyone, Felix from Nintendo Life here, and today we're here to look at 30 subtle small differences between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Now, these differences are stuff they may have added or removed in the sequel that doesn't really affect much. It might be some visual differences, or some changes that make you go, huh, that's neat, and then you move along with your day because it wasn't really that important to the gameplay experience. Keep in mind that this video will contain some gameplay, environmental, and story spoilers. Alright, I've rambled enough, let's just get right into it. 1. They've added a new sound effect in Tears of the Kingdom when paragliding in the rain. In Breath of the Wild, there wasn't anything there, but now they realized that yes, when rain actually drops on cloth, it makes a sound. So I actually think it's a pretty cool change. 2. Link now hums different Zelda melodies while cooking. These can be everything from Cars theme in Breath of the Wild to the Lost Woods theme from Ocarina of Time. 3. You now have to press A to collect a rupee. In Breath of the Wild, you could just walk over them, but now nothing happens as you can see, and you have to pick it up like any other item. 4. The compendium now uses the entire picture as an outline. In Breath of the Wild, well, it only used the square, but here, as you can see, well, everything around it is like dimmed in the background, but you can still see it. So if there was anything outside of that little box that you really liked, well, you can still see it. 5. When taking a picture or in the map, they now remove that filter that was in Breath of the Wild. Now, it's a very minor thing, but when taking screenshots, it was just really annoying that it was there and you couldn't really turn it on and off. Well, now they just removed it. 6. You can't see the precise numbers on enemies' health bars. In Breath of the Wild, when getting the Champion's Tunic, well, you can see it, and it was really neat. The Champion's Tunic in Tears of the Kingdom, for some reason, just doesn't display this. I don't know why they removed it, but they did. And I'm kinda sad. 7. When you're about to upgrade a piece of clothes, it now shows this little star outline, which indicates, okay, if you upgrade this piece of clothes, it'll have 3 stars instead of 2. In Breath of the Wild, there was nothing, so this is a lovely little addition. 8. They've now added this little sound effect plus a star animation when you upgrade your clothes. In Breath of the Wild, when you upgraded, it would just show the new piece of clothes with now 2 stars. But now, it starts showing it with only 1 star and then it adds that second star. It's just to re-emphasize that yes, you upgraded from 1 star to 2 stars. And 9. Now, when you get a new heart piece, it moves to the center and then it shows you there, oh, you got a new heart. In Breath of the Wild, it would just stay in the corner and then it added a new heart. It was kinda anticlimactic compared to Tears of the Kingdom. Number 10. Hardy durians are not in the game. Now, these were very overpowered in Breath of the Wild, since if you just cooked one of them, you would regain full health plus 4 extra temporary hearts. And it really seems they wanted to tone down the hardy fruits and vegetables you could get in this game, because not only are hardy durians out of the game, you're also much less likely to run into hardy radishes and hardy truffles. It just feels much more rewarding when you eventually get these, and to me that's just a change for the better, since in Breath of the Wild, you stumbled upon these very easily. 11. When whistling for your horse, it now doesn't have a HUD element that says, oh, it couldn't hear you call, if it couldn't hear you call. I actually really like this change because of course you know your horse can't hear you if you're on the other side of the map, and then you can actually whistle without being afraid of that HUD element springing in your face. 12. Characters are now much more aware of their surroundings, because when you talk to them, for example at stables, they will now have unique pieces of dialogue depending on the time of day and the weather. And although this could happen in Breath of the Wild, they've really cranked that to the next level in this sequel. 13. The sun changed location. Now, here's what I mean. I took these at exactly the same time of day, but they're lit quite different. All the shadows have changed, and you can see that, well, the world doesn't look the same. A lot of the times I felt Hyrule almost looked unrecognizable, and now I know why. They literally changed where the sun crosses over the sky. 14. The Rito actually fly around outside of cutscenes. Now, there's one instance where you ride a Rito, and of course that's flying outside of a cutscene. But otherwise, when you're in Rito Village, they just walk around. There's no Rito flying, but in Tears of the Kingdom, as you can see here, they now actually use their wings. 15. You can now swim up small waterfalls in Tears of the Kingdom. In Breath of the Wild, this was not the case as you can see here. But now, well, it's as easy as saying, I'm swimming up this little waterfall. 16. The Soras now have more color variation. In Breath of the Wild, you had red, blue, green, but now they've added colors like orange and pink. 17. This has to do with the Pro HUD. In Breath of the Wild, it would still display the hearts and the shrine sensor, but now, here in Tears of the Kingdom, there's nothing there. Now you can still hear the shrine sensor, and you can also get the hearts to appear if you take damage, but it's just so incredibly clean. Now I would have liked an option in between where you can have it kinda like in Breath of the Wild, but this is still a really cool change. 18. You can now change direction when swimming up waterfalls. In Breath of the Wild, well, you were stuck there. Now you can move a bit around, and that's just lovely, isn't it? 19. When diving into water from a high distance, well, there's now this extra splash water animation, which wasn't present in Breath of the Wild. 20. Beetle now claps and drums his little booth to attract more customers. And it works, I'm there all the time. But I think that's because he sells arrows and I'm just always out of those. 21. I don't know if you've noticed, but when getting a heart piece or a stamina container, they've lowered the sound effect after you get it, so in that pause between the animation and the bum ba da da ba da bum, it's just a bit awkward. 22. You can't whistle sprint in Tears of the Kingdom. Now this was a technique in Breath of the Wild where if you whistled and mashed the sprint button, you wouldn't use any stamina, but they unfortunately patched that in Tears of the Kingdom. 23.
23? That's my arbitrary insertion number!
In Breath of the Wild, there was no sense in getting attached to any of your weapons because they would always just break and subsequently break your heart. However, in Tears of the Kingdom, you can in fact repair them by allowing them into the belly of a rock Octorok. We've got a whole flippin' video about it, so make sure you check that out. But for now, I'll hand you back to Felix. Thanks, Felix.
24. In Tears of the Kingdom, when you're trying to shoot with your bow but are out of arrows, it now has a little HUD element that says, you're out of arrows. In Breath of the Wild, this was simply just not there. Then you would shoot and you would have that animation of Link looking a bit confused, but that was it. 25. Hestu now has a new dance when upgrading your inventory. Now, I can't decide if I like the old one or the new one better, but they're both brilliantly good. And it also means the inclusion of dancing Koroks. 26. Now there is still frame drops in Tears of the Kingdom, but they fixed that in one of the most notorious areas from Breath of the Wild. The Korok Forest. There's no lag here. Just have a look at this. It feels almost wrong because you're so used to just lagging when you're walking around there. Now it's buttery smooth. Wow. 27. It now shows a little message near the temperature HUD element that says if it's either really, really hot or really, really cold. And although in Breath of the Wild it did have this little animation that showed, hey, now it's cold or it's really hot, the little extra text is just really neat. 28. They now added lights inside these giant Goron statues above Goron City. It just makes it more visible from a distance, and it being a way to honor the great champion Daruk, well, I think that can only be a good thing. 29. You can put down the Hylian Hood. For this, you need to equip it and talk to this character in Hateno Village, Sese. She will then say, hey, you would actually look quite a bit better if you took it down, and then there you have it. Now you can have the look that's on the box art of the game. And lastly, number 30. Terrytown now has a night theme. This little village is one of my favorite in the entire game. It was a quest in Breath of the Wild where you built it from the ground up, and it's really nice to see it thriving in Tears of the Kingdom being an actual city, and thus it also needed a night theme. And it's just, oh, it's delightful to listen to. And there you have it. Those were 30 small, subtle differences between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Now, I know I must have missed a million of these, so if you noticed any that I didn't mention in this video, well, put them down in the below. Don't forget to check out our website, nintendoLove.com, and click that subscribe button if you like this video. Stay safe, play some Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, or Breath of the Wild. Let's see how many differences you can spot, and I'll see you in the next one. Felix from Nintendo Life, out.